Empire Tales. Leonidas I, the hero of Thermopylae. Imagine a small mountain pass, barely wide enough for a single wagon to pass. On one side, the jagged cliffs of Greece. On the other, the crashing waves of the Aegean Sea. Now imagine 300 men standing in that gap, their bronze shields locked together like an unbreakable wall of gold. Facing them is a tidal wave of 1,000,000 soldiers, the greatest army the world had ever seen, led by a king who claimed to be a god. This is not a myth. This is the story of the Battle of Thermopylae. This is the story of Leonidas I, the king of Sparta, who turned a suicide mission into the greatest symbol of courage in human history. Part 1. Born in the Agoge, the forging of a king. To understand Leonidas, you must understand Sparta. Unlike any other city in Greece, Sparta was a factory for warriors. Born around 540 BC, Leonidas was not expected to be king. He was a younger son, which meant he had to undergo the Agoge, the most brutal military training program ever devised. From the age of 7, Leonidas was taken from his mother. He was forced to go barefoot in winter, fed just enough to survive to encourage him to steal, and beaten if he was caught. He was taught that pain was an illusion and that retreat was the only true sin. He survived the wilderness with nothing but his wits and a spear. When he eventually rose to the throne after the death of his half-brother, he wasn't just a politician in a robe. He was a hardened soldier who knew the weight of a shield and the sting of a wound. He was a king who lived, ate, and bled with his men. Part 2. The Persian Storm. Xerxes the Great. In the year 480 BC, a shadow fell over Greece. Xerxes I, the great king of Persia, had crossed the Hellespont. He brought with him a colossal army. Historians say hundreds of thousands, intent on burning Athens to the ground and enslaving all of Greece. The Greek city-states were divided and terrified. Some wanted to surrender, others wanted to hide. But the Oracle of Delphi gave a chilling prophecy to the Spartans. Either your great city must be laid waste by the sons of Perseus, or the whole land of Lacedaemon must mourn the death of a king. Leonidas heard the prophecy and did not flinch. He knew what he had to do. He chose to be the king who died so that Greece could live. Part 3. Molenlabe. Come and take them. Because of a religious festival, Sparta could not officially go to war. But Leonidas, ever the strategist, bypassed the law. He handpicked 300 elite warriors, men who already had sons to carry on their names, and marched toward the narrow pass of Thermopylae, the Hot Gates. Along the way, he was joined by a few thousand allies from other Greek cities, but the core of the defense was the 300 Spartans. When Xerxes arrived at the pass, he was stunned to see such a small force blocking his path. He waited 4 days, expecting the Greeks to flee in terror. He sent a messenger to Leonidas, offering him wealth and power if he would only lay down his arms. Leonidas's reply was only 2 words, legendary for their defiance. Molenlabe, come and take them. Part 4. The Walls of Bronze. The battle begins. On the 5th day, Xerxes lost his patience. He sent his Medes and Scythian warriors to clear the pass. But the Persians were used to fighting in open plains with light wicker shields. The Spartans, in their heavy bronze cuirasses and massive round shields, formed the phalanx. They stood shoulder to shoulder, a forest of spears protruding from a wall of metal. Wave after wave of Persian soldiers crashed against the Spartan line, only to be slaughtered. Leonidas stood in the front rank, his sword red with the blood of his enemies. Xerxes, watching from a golden throne on a nearby hill, grew increasingly frustrated. He sent in his elite bodyguard, the Immortals, 10,000 of his finest troops. But even the Immortals could not break the Spartans. In the narrow pass, numbers meant nothing. Skill and iron will meant everything. For 2 days, Leonidas and his men held the world at bay. Part 5. The Path of Betrayal. The Final Sacrifice. The Greeks were invincible from the front, but they were vulnerable from the shadows. A local Greek named Ephialtes, hoping for Persian gold, betrayed his people. He showed Xerxes a secret mountain path that led behind the Greek lines. When Leonidas learned he was being surrounded, he knew the end had come. To save the rest of the Greek army, he ordered the allies to retreat and save themselves for the battles to come. But the Spartans remained. They were joined by 700 brave Thespians who refused to leave. This was not a battle for victory anymore. It was a battle for time. Every hour they held the pass was an hour the rest of Greece could use to prepare their final defense. On the third morning, the Persians attacked from both sides. The Greeks fought with a fury that defied description. When their spears shattered, they fought with swords. When their swords broke, Leonidas fell in the thick of the fighting, and a desperate struggle broke out over his body. 4 times the Persians tried to seize the king, and 4 times the Spartans drove them back, protecting their leader even in death. Part 6. The Lion's Legacy. The 300 Spartans and their allies were eventually overwhelmed, not by skill, but by a rain of Persian arrows that clouded the sun. Xerxes had won the pass, but it was a hollow victory. He had lost thousands of his best men, and more importantly, he had lost the aura of invincibility. The sacrifice of Leonidas acted like a lightning bolt across Greece. Inspired by the courage of the Spartans, the Greek cities united. A year later, they crushed the Persians at the Battle of Plataea, ending the invasion forever. The Western world as we know it, democracy, philosophy, and art, survived because 300 men refused to move in a mountain pass. Legacy. More than just a warrior. Leonidas, I was more than just a king. He was the ultimate Spartan. He proved that leadership is not about standing above your men, but standing in front of them. Today, a statue of Leonidas stands at Thermopylae, inscribed with the words he spoke to Xerxes, Molenleb. He remains the eternal symbol of the underdog who stands his ground against impossible odds. He taught us that a life lived with honor and a death died for a cause are more powerful than a million-man army. He was the Lion of Sparta, and his roar still echoes through the halls of history. Thank you for listening to this epic exploration of the hero of Thermopylae. If you are inspired by the courage of those who choose honor over life, please subscribe to Empire Tales, like this podcast video, and join our community of history enthusiasts. The past is never truly dead. It is just waiting to be told.